Welcome to Alimentary, the podcast series where you will learn about your amazing body, how it works, and of course why food is so important. We have our store cupboard staples at the end of each episode. We'll also learn more about lifestyle tips and therapies to help you to influence your health in a positive way. In this short episode of Alimentary, I thought that I would go through some information about blood pressure because people often know if they have high or low blood pressure, but maybe aren't sure what some of the terms mean. And I also wanted to highlight the kind of daily habits that can support a healthy blood pressure. Now, even though some people might have hereditary high blood pressure, you can still influence it with your daily habits. If you are under medical care and at the stage where your doctor has recommended medication or you're already on it, then of course this information is just to support that, and never stop taking medication or reduce it without discussing with your doctor first. So we'll start with, what is blood pressure? Well, it is the force that our blood exerts against the walls of our arteries as our heart pumps it around our body. So think of it like the pressure of water in a hose. If the pressure is too high, it can damage the hose. If it's too low, then the water won't reach where it needs to go. Now, this matters because blood pressure is vital for circulating oxygen and nutrients to our organs and tissues in our blood. Without it, our body's cells wouldn't get the resources and the fuel that they need, and our waste products from our cells wouldn't be carried away efficiently. So that's why it's one of the key vital signs that doctors check to assess our overall health. Without blood pressure, there is no life. So how do we measure blood pressure? Well, it's measured using two numbers, usually written as something like 120/80. The top number is the systolic pressure, and this is the pressure that's exerted when our heart contracts and pushes the blood out into our arteries. The bottom number is the diastolic pressure, the pressure when our heart relaxes between the beats. So the way I always need a little trick or tip to remember these things. So I always think S, the systolic, is for the sky, so that's up on top, and D, the diastolic pressure, is for the dirt, so that's down below. So if just in case you're like me and you need little tips and tricks to remember these things. For adults, a normal blood pressure is generally considered to be around the 120/80 or a little bit less. So normal is less than 120/80. Elevated is 120/129 systolic, that's your top number, and less than 80 diastolic. Hypertension, which is the medical term for high blood pressure, stage 1, is where your systolic would be 130/139, or your diastolic would be 80/89. Hypertension stage 2 would be 140 or higher systolic, or a diastolic which is 90 or higher. So hypertensive crisis, so this is where your blood pressure would be over 180, over 120, and that is when you would need to seek medical help immediately. Low blood pressure or hypotension is usually less than 90/60. It's not always dangerous, but it can cause symptoms like dizziness or fainting. So obviously if you can fall over and hurt yourself, but even low blood pressure should be monitored and kept an eye on. So what affects our blood pressure? Well, it naturally fluctuates during the day, depending on what you're doing. And factors can include your physical activity, because obviously if we're exercising, our blood pressure might go up a little to send all the blood with the nutrients and the oxygen and the iron and all of that energy that our cells need to run and move. Stress and emotions can impact our blood pressure. And if you remember a previous episode on fight or flight or rest and digest, when we're in fight or flight, when we're in a stressed state, then our heart rate goes up to push the blood out to our arms and our legs so we can run away from a man-eating bear or tiger. Our body position can impact our blood pressure. So for example, you might be all curled up in a ball, or you might have your legs wound around each other when you're sitting at a desk, that kind of thing. So our body position can certainly hamper the flow of our blood through our body. Sleep, so our blood pressure might go down during sleep, but with some medical conditions, some people can have high blood pressure at night too. So diet, so especially high salt, high sodium intake can increase our blood pressure. Generally, if people are eating a lot of processed foods, there can be sodium. We're not measuring, we don't know how much sodium is in it. So if you're eating like whole foods most of the time, and you've cut back on your processed foods, that is going to cut down on your sodium intake. Now, of course, when you're cooking, you might put a little bit in. When you're cooking yourself, you can measure it. So, it might be a little pinch here or there. And of course, you want to use a good salt. So, coarse sea salt, Himalayan pink salt or Celtic sea salt. And little pinches go a long way because they do contain other minerals as well. Because remember, sodium is an electrolyte too. So, a little bit is fine. We do need it. And of course, age and genetics can influence whether we have naturally low or high blood pressure. So hypertension or high blood pressure, it can often have no symptoms, but it can be silently damaging our arteries, our heart, our kidneys, and our brain over time. That's why it's a major risk factor for heart attacks, strokes, heart failure, and kidney disease. Low blood pressure or hypotension can cause dizziness and fainting, as we mentioned, and in severe cases, it can cause shock or organ damage. So especially if the blood flow to the brain is reduced. Now, this is less common, but persistent or chronic low blood pressure should be checked with your GP and monitored. So how can you check your blood pressure? Well, the only way to check it is to measure it. So that's usually with, the cuff around your upper arm. Of course, there are lots of blood pressure monitors being sold. Just make sure that you get a good brand. Make sure that it's reliable. You don't want to be getting wrong readings and stressing yourself unnecessarily. If you are testing it yourself at home, for the most accurate results, you want to sit quietly for 5 minutes before measuring. Keep your back and arms supported. So sit in a chair with good support for your back, and then rest the arm that you're going to be measuring the blood pressure from on maybe a cushion, and make sure that arm is supported as well. And take multiple readings at different times of the day. Now, there is a thing called white coat hypertension. So this happened to me once. My blood pressure used to be always low. I always used to be anemic. And then when I sort of got my diet and everything sorted out, it was pretty much bang on 120/80 for years. But then I think it was the year before last, for the first time ever, when I went to the GP to have my sort of checkup, my blood pressure was high. So my GP put me on a 24-hour blood pressure monitor, and the results came back and it was perfect over the 24 hours. It was fine. So I had experienced that white coat hypertension, which surprised me because, I didn't think that I was nervous or worried about anything. But I guess my mum was sick at the time, and, maybe somewhere in my subconscious, I was a little bit more worried about illness or whatever it was. Anyway, so if your blood pressure is unusually high, your GP will give you that monitor to check it over the 24 hours and then see if you need to do anything else about it after that. So how can we keep our blood pressure healthy? Well, we want to maintain a healthy weight for us. We want to, of course, eat a balanced diet, rich in fruits, vegetables, good, healthy, whole foods, good quality sources of protein, and, our whole grains for our good carbs. We want to limit salt and alcohol. Exercise regularly. So aim for at least 90 to 150 minutes of aerobic activity per week. And so aerobic means you want to get your heart rate up a little bit. So if you're going out for a walk, make it a brisk walk, and that works out at 20, 25 minutes a day. So, hopefully that is doable for all of us. We want to manage stress. So I will link in the show notes to a couple of episodes, previous episodes on that. And of course, don't smoke. Really and truly, smoking just raises our risk for so many diseases. So that would be a no-no. And finally, maintaining our hydration is really important for our blood pressure and to help our blood to flow more easily. So make sure you start the day with a mug of warm water and then sip your 1.5 to 2 litres throughout the day. And if you have high blood pressure, as we said, your doctor might have already prescribed medication. Now, that doesn't mean that you can ignore the lifestyle habits and the healthy lifestyle tips, because obviously you want to help that medication work. So living a healthy lifestyle will only enhance the effects of that medication. Whereas if you continue sort of driving the high blood pressure, then that medication has a lot more work to do. So just to recap, our blood pressure is the force of blood against our artery walls, and it's essential for life. A normal adult blood pressure is, 120 over 80 or less. High blood pressure is a silent risk for heart disease and stroke, and the only way to know our blood pressure is to measure it. So healthy lifestyle choices can help to keep our blood pressure in check. So we mentioned that whole foods can really help to keep our blood pressure in check, thanks to minerals like potassium and nitrates. Nitrate-rich foods can also help. So I've picked a vegetable for our store cupboard staple today, which has both, and that's celery. Now, celery is more than just a crunchy, low-calorie snack. It offers a wide range of health benefits, especially for our heart and our blood vessels. Its natural nitrates and the phytochemicals it contains can support our cardiovascular health. Now, it's a member of the Umbelliferae family, which includes parsley, fennel, and carrots, and it has a normal growing cycle of once every 2 years. Now, we can eat the whole plant, by the way, not just the stalks, which we're used to, but the leaves, the root, and the seeds as well. You might see celery seeds in some recipes, for example. I believe that it originated in the Mediterranean, where lots of lovely good vegetables and herbs come from. And the aforementioned seeds were used as a diuretic. Mentions of celery leaves being used in medicine actually date back to the 9th century BC, when it was named in a very famous book called the Odyssey by the Greek poet Homer. The Greeks actually also used the leaves to make laurels for their athletes, to wear as a decoration when they performed well. Romans used celery as a seasoning, and during the 1700s it became more widely used outside of medicine as a seasoning, and of course now it's grown all over the world. Now, celery is a good source of vitamin C, and of course we need vitamin C for our collagen production and our immune system, fibre to keep us regular, and potassium, which is good for relaxing our blood vessels, so good for blood pressure, folic acid, which is vitamin B9, magnesium, and also B6 and B1, and some calcium and some B2 as well. So really, has a wide range of vitamins and minerals. Now, celery actually contains sodium, which is salt, but it's offset by the potassium. So the ratio of sodium to potassium in celery means that we don't need to worry about it, as a food that might cause high blood pressure, because the potassium will deal with the sodium. But because it contains both of these electrolytes, celery juice would be really great after exercise. Celery extract has been studied for lowering cholesterol, reducing gout, and for chronic pain, and also improving detoxification, which, of course, when our detoxification pathways are open, this can help to reduce the risk of many chronic diseases. Clinical studies and reviews, and I've linked some in the show notes, have shown that consuming celery or its extracts can significantly lower both systolic and diastolic blood pressure in people with mild to moderate hypertension. It's also rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, and again, that may help to reduce inflammation in the blood vessels and prevent the buildup of arterial plaque. So, of course, this supports healthy blood pressure, but also helps to protect against heart disease over the long term. Celery contains phytochemical compounds called coumarins, which may be useful in cancer prevention and capable of enhancing the activity of certain white blood cells, and also tone our vascular system and lower blood pressure. And actually, it may help to ease migraines as well. Now, experts suggest that eating roughly a cup of celery a day would provide us with many benefits. So celery really is It really does offer us a natural way to support our heart health and blood pressure, thanks to its unique combination of thalidides, natural nitrates, potassium, and antioxidants, because it helps to relax and dilate our blood vessels, making it easier for the blood to pass through. So it makes it easier for our heart to do its job then. Our heart doesn't have to work harder to try and push the blood all around our body. And remember, our blood delivers oxygen and nutrients to all of our cells. So it may not be a cure for hypertension if you've already been diagnosed with it, but it's definitely a valuable addition to a balanced heart healthy diet. And as I said, will only support any medication that you might be on. So when you've bought your celery, what are you going to do with it? Well, it should be stored in your fridge and it should always be firm. So if you have forgotten about it and the colour's gone off and it's limp, then it's best to not use it. It's also best to store it dry to retain the nutrients. Now, sometimes when I have a busy week, I will prep and chop some and store it in some water. But then I'll filtered water, but then I'll use the water in a smoothie because some of the nutrients, might have leached out into the water. So that's why if you store it dry, obviously it retains all the nutrients. But then there's sometimes you just have to do a bit of prep in advance, and just it's better to do that than not have it at all. Now, just about washing it, you do want to wash it thoroughly to remove any pesticides, and even if it's organic, you want to wash it well. So I will put in a link to my blog about washing vegetables on my website as well. I'll put that in the show notes. You can do loads with it. You can eat it crunchy as a snack, which is kind of what I mostly do, or chop it up and put it in a salad. You can juice it. Now, this does remove the fiber, but again, if obviously celery juice will still have the other nutrients. Beautiful in salads, lovely with chicken and apple and walnut in a salad. Wrap that up in a Kos salad leaf. Love that. And of course, you can use it as a base for any of your soups and stews as well. Now, even if you think that you don't like the taste of it, because I have to be honest, I've only really started to love it in the last couple of years. For some reason, I thought I didn't like it. But so even if you are not mad about the taste of it, raw or crunchy, then as I say, adding it into soups and stews, you won't even taste it, and you'll still get the benefits from it. So hopefully there is enough information there to encourage you to add some more whole foods into your shopping trolley this week. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to clarify that the podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional care from a doctor or trained health professional, nor constitute medical advice or services if you're in a position to need either. However, if you found it interesting, you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes, or sign up for my newsletter on lynsharkeynutrition.ie.